Okay, so this is finishing up lesson 4 that we didn't finish on Friday, and it's about speeding up a moment when you are writing. And we talked about Friday how when you go into so much detail, it kind of builds suspense and it slows it down. Well, the opposite is also true with speeding up. You can intensify the action, so to speak. It's not, it doesn't build suspense in the same way, but it kind of gets the reader's adrenaline going, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. In that way, it's suspenseful, but it doesn't build the suspense, if that makes sense. It is suspenseful, it doesn't build the suspense. So, how do you do it? Vivid verbs. We've talked about this with different writing techniques, and that's why the lesson that we talked about with verbs was so important. When you use words like is and was, there's nothing vivid about it, and so it doesn't speed up a moment. It just is. Um, and you can use multiple verbs in short phrases, one after the other, jumps, runs, plays, um, because they're coming in right after each other. It's kind of like riding a moving train. All right, let's look at an example. So when you first see the sentence, the teacher ran hard, screaming loudly, waving her hands. Like those short phrases, you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Oh, this is going to be bad. And so it's got that tense moment in there. And then you read the next part, which is she won the lottery. And so it's kind of like a shock to the reader right there. And that's one of the things that speeding up a moment has in your writing is it does do a good job of delivering that shock value. And authors will use that if they want to really pound something home and shock the reader. You can do multiple images in short phrases. So it's going to be kind of the same concept, but this one is images versus necessarily verbs. So let's look at an example. The glazed eyes, full of shiny tears, fell onto the quivering lips. So you have the multiple visual images because you can see kind of glazed eyes and shiny tears. And so once again, you have this tense moment going on, thinking, what's going on? Something's going to happen. Oh my goodness, this horrible thing. And then you have the shock value of won the lottery. And this can be used with a lot of different things. I've just been using the lottery example, but the purpose is the same, which is to pull the reader in. And then you could use a short dialogue where you have one character say a short line and then the next character, almost like an argument. Argument has a negative connotation, but it doesn't have to be negative, it could be positive. But the point is that you have one person saying something and then another person saying something, and it does create that speeding up moment in the text. All right. Just as a quick review on how to answer short answer questions, the first thing you want to do is restate the question. Now, when you restate the question, you're going to look at the keywords in the prompt. So if this was our prompt, which we've written on this, describe a moment in time that stands out to you. The keywords, that's going to have a verb in it because it's what they want you to write about. So describe, and then you're going to go describe what? The moment in time that stands out. So that is what they are looking for you to answer. These words are going to be in your first sentence. So, a moment in time that stands out to me. I have answered the prompt. That's the first thing they're going to look for is restating the question. To me is the day my kids were born. So I have answered it. This is the moment. Then you're actually going to answer in detail the questions. This day was amazing because, notice the word because there. Okay, you're answering the question. Why was it standing out to you? I realized what a real life, I saw what a real life miracle I forgot a word. Was. And then I have to give me some evidence. Now, for you, it would be from the text typically, but since this is the prompt is actually based on your life, then it would be what evidence has this. So they, and of course it's referring to the kids, were 6 weeks early, and as they laid in the incubators in the NIC unit, they curled their little hands around my fingers and turned their heads at the sound of my voice. This is a fact. You have to have evidence that is factual. And this actually happened. So it can be proven. It is a fact. Now, here's the problem. If you stop here, which is where many of you are stopping, I don't truly comprehend how this answers the prompt. I mean, I kind of see because I know where you're going with it, but it is not actually written on paper. And I think that's one of the common mistakes that you're making is you're giving me evidence and you're assuming I know how it supports it. You can't assume that. You have to actually go through and explain how it supports it in words, not, okay, I know you know this, reader. So here's my explanation. They were alive and healthy in a way the doctors and I didn't know for sure would be possible. Okay. I am explaining how this is a miracle. So notice that each line kind of ties to the other. I need to know, how does this fact support it so that it relates? And then I have to sum it up. Because it was so difficult to carry the boys and there was doubt, let's just put the correct there in there. There was doubt they would both survive. The moment, look at the word moment there. It's tied to our prompt. I saw them, oh, no, that was right the first time. They were both alive and healthy. Stands out as one of the most amazing times. I've tied that keyword in my life. So notice that from the prompt, I have a word down here. And then from my answer, I have a word down here. That ties it all together in a nice little bow. And so the grader goes on topic. And then you have answered the question. And that you have developed it. And that's exactly what is being looked for, okay? And then this is also kind of a review just to make sure that you understand. When you summarize, you're basically answering the 5 W's, okay? So if you're confused as to how to summarize, you're going to go through and you're going to say, who is in the story? Okay. And you don't need to list all of them. It's going to be the main characters. What happened? And this is basically the conflict. Where did it happen? And for this one, you don't need to go into a lot of detail. The hospital, the gas station, the delivery room. I mean, going into too much detail defeats the purpose of summary. When did it happen? On July 4th or March 3rd. And why? And again, so these are all one sentence answers. Some of them you might be able to even combine into one sentence and making it a little bit shorter. But a summary is not long, okay? It's just short, sweet, and to the point. And so that's the lesson for today. You're going to go through your assignments from Amplify. And then when you're done, you're going to answer this prompt, making sure you use the RACE formula, okay? It's Amplify, Unit 3, Task 5. Okay. Or card number 4. Okay. And it says, if you look here, choose a food that you love or one that you really don't like, and write a scene where people are preparing to eat this food. You're going to use sensory language, precise descriptions. You're going to speed it up, slow it down as you describe this scene.